warning to our viewers. What you're about to watch is a true story. The following program contains content that some viewers may find disturbing. Viewer discretion is strongly advised.
This particular case is just unimaginable. I don't know that Stephen King could have made it up, to be honest with you.
I remember thinking to myself, holy crap, just violent.
It was the most horrific, disgusting, despicable case in the history of Westmoreland County jurisprudence. I mean, it was the worst case you can imagine.
February 11th, 2010, Greensburg, Pennsylvania. The smell hit Daniel Grant first. Death, decay, something rotting in the snow. He's trying to move a garbage can from under his truck when the lid pops off. And there she is. A woman's body, crammed headfirst into the trash. Christmas lights wrapped around her throat like a necklace. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is what they did to her before she ended up here. Jennifer Daugherty was 30 years old, mentally disabled. She trusted everyone. 3 days earlier, she walked into an apartment thinking she was visiting friends. Instead, 6 people held her captive. They stripped her naked, beat her with metal objects, forced her to eat human feces. They tied Christmas lights around her body and called her their Christmas tree. Then they raped her. When they got bored, they took a vote. Should we kill Jennifer? 6 people, 6 votes, all for murder. 17-year-old Angela Marinucci looked down at Jennifer, bleeding, bound, barely conscious, and gave the order that would end her life. Just kill that bitch. This is the story of the Greensburg Six and the innocent woman they destroyed. Welcome to the Shadow Files crime series. Tonight's case will shake you to your core. Take a moment to hit subscribe, drop a like, and please let us know where you're watching from. And now, we begin. To understand how 6 people could commit such evil, you have to understand the America they lived in. February 2010. The country was still reeling from the worst economic collapse since the Great Depression. Unemployment had hit 10%. 4 million families had lost their homes to foreclosure. Communities that had thrived for generations were now ghost towns of boarded-up businesses and broken dreams. In small-town America, the crisis hit hardest. Drug addiction was exploding as people self-medicated their despair. Mental health services were being slashed just when they were needed most. And society's most vulnerable, people like Jennifer Daugherty, were falling through the cracks faster than anyone could catch them. This was also a different technological world. Facebook was still new, no Instagram, no smartphones with GPS tracking. When someone went missing, especially someone with disabilities, they often stayed missing. Greensburg, Pennsylvania embodied all of these problems. 30 miles east of Pittsburgh, this blue-collar steel town of 15,000 had watched its economy crumble. The winter of 2010 was particularly brutal. Massive snowstorms that isolated neighborhoods for days, trapping people in apartment complexes filled with transients, drifters, and the forgotten. It was the perfect environment for predators, and the worst possible place for someone like Jennifer Daugherty to trust the wrong people. Jennifer Lee Daugherty was born on November 8, 1979, in Mount Pleasant, Pennsylvania. She came into this world with a disability that would shape every day of her life and ultimately lead to her death. Jennifer's brain functioned at the level of a 12 to 14-year-old child, but what she lacked in mental capacity, she made up for in heart. Her sister Joy would later say that Jennifer trusted everybody, believed everyone was good, and that no one would hurt her. She lived with her mother Denise, stepfather Bobby Murphy, and was surrounded by a loving family, sisters Joy and Jamie, stepbrother Dave, and nieces and nephews who adored their Aunt Jennifer. The family had moved from Texas to Pennsylvania in 2008 to care for Bobby's sick mother. It was a sacrifice they made together, because that's what families do. Despite her disability, Jennifer was fiercely independent. She rode the bus alone from Mount Pleasant to Greensburg, a 10-mile journey she made regularly for dental appointments, counseling sessions, and visits to the West Place Center for people with special needs. Everyone who met Jennifer remembered her infectious smile, her childlike wonder at the world around her, the way she lit up when she was included in conversations. She had a ritual with her family she called home every single day, and every single call ended the same way: "I love you." On the morning she died, Jennifer left a note for her mother. It read, "Mom, I hope you have a good day at work, and I love you very much. Love, Jennifer." In the weeks before her murder, Jennifer had been excited. She told her family she'd made new friends at the center, people named Peggy and Amber, people who seemed to like her, people who invited her to hang out. Jennifer's family didn't push for details. They trusted her judgment. They were happy she was making connections. But Jennifer's greatest strength was also her fatal weakness. She wanted to belong so desperately that she couldn't see the warning signs. She couldn't recognize predators. To Jennifer, everyone was a potential friend. Everyone was good. She had no way of knowing that the people she trusted were already planning her destruction. No way of knowing that her desperate need for acceptance had painted a target on her back. As we go into the most chilling details of this documentary, take a brief moment to like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, for more in-depth investigations and analysis of significant cases like this. On February 8, 2010, Jennifer Daugherty stepped onto a bus heading to Greensburg, excited to spend time with her new friend. She had no idea she was riding toward her own execution. Monday morning, February 8, 2010. Bobby Murphy drove his stepdaughter Jennifer to the bus station in Mount Pleasant, just like he'd done dozens of times before. Jennifer had a routine appointment in Greensburg and planned to return home Tuesday. "Be careful, honey," Bobby said as Jennifer climbed onto the bus. "I will, Dad. I love you." Jennifer replied, flashing that infectious smile. Those were the last words Bobby Murphy would ever hear his stepdaughter speak. At 4 o'clock that afternoon, Jennifer called home. Her voice was excited, almost giddy. "Mom, can I spend the night at Peggy's house?" Denise Murphy hesitated for just a moment, but Jennifer sounded happy. She was making friends. How could that be bad? "Of course, honey. Be safe." "I will." "I love you too." The line went dead. Jennifer Daugherty would never speak to her family again. But Jennifer wasn't going to Peggy's house. She was heading to 428 North Pennsylvania Avenue, a dingy apartment that reeked of cigarettes, spilled beer, and human misery. The apartment belonged to 24-year-old Ricky Smyrnes, a violent predator with a history of assault, theft, and rape. Amber Meidinger had orchestrated this invitation. She knew Jennifer from the West Place Center, had studied her vulnerabilities, her desperate need to belong. "Come stay with us," Amber had said. "We're your friends." Jennifer believed her. Why wouldn't she? The apartment was filling with human wreckage. Melvin Knight, 20 years old, had just arrived from a homeless shelter with his pregnant girlfriend Amber. Knight had suffered brain damage in childhood and struggled with violent impulses his entire life. 17-year-old Angela Marinucci was there too. She'd suffered her own traumatic brain injury 2 years earlier when a truck hit her. Since then, her behavior had become increasingly erratic, violent. She was secretly sleeping with Ricky Smyrnes, even though he was married with children. Robert Masters and Peggy Miller completed the group, 2 lost souls who would become reluctant participants in the horror about to unfold. As Jennifer walked up the stairs to that apartment, she thought she was joining a group of friends. Instead, she was walking into a den of predators whose jealousy, mental illness, and capacity for cruelty would soon converge in the most horrific way imaginable. The trap was set, and Jennifer Daugherty was about to become its victim. Jennifer had been in the apartment less than 24 hours when she made a comment that would seal her fate. She told Ricky Smyrnes she wanted to marry him. To Jennifer, with her childlike understanding of the world, this was innocent, a fantasy. But to 17-year-old Angela Marinucci, it was a declaration of war. "Nobody is having sex with my man," Angela snarled. What happened next would haunt investigators for years. The group surrounded Jennifer and dumped out her purse, stealing her money, her gift cards, her cell phone. They poured toothpaste and mouthwash into her bag, soaking her belongings. Then they forced Jennifer to use her own stolen money to buy cigarettes for Melvin Knight. When Jennifer called Melvin an asshole for stealing from her, he grabbed her by the throat and choked her until she collapsed to the floor, gasping and crying. This was just the beginning. Angela's rage was building. She dragged Jennifer into the bathroom and slammed her into the metal towel rack, once, twice, 3 times. The metal cut into Jennifer's skin as Angela screamed accusations and threats. Then came the ritualistic humiliation. They cut off Jennifer's hair in ragged chunks, painted her face with nail polish like a grotesque doll, stripped her naked and threw her clothes out the window into the snow below. Angela wrapped Christmas lights around Jennifer's body, pulling them tight. "Make her look like a Christmas tree," she commanded. Then Melvin Knight raped her. But the psychological torture was just as brutal as the physical. They held what they called family meetings, sick democratic votes on Jennifer's fate. Should they force her to eat this? Should they beat her with that? Should they kill her? Jennifer begged for mercy, pleaded to go home, promised she wouldn't tell anyone. Her pleas fell on deaf ears. They forced her to drink urine from a cup. When she gagged and vomited, they forced her to consume a mixture of human feces, spices, and garlic. When that wasn't enough, they made her drink powdered detergent mixed with water and prescription drugs until she vomited again. They beat her with metal towel racks, crutches, whatever they could find. Through it all, Jennifer kept asking the same heartbreaking question. "Why are you doing this to me? I thought we were friends." That question would echo in the minds of investigators years later, because to Jennifer, even as they tortured her, even as they violated and degraded her, she still couldn't understand that these people weren't her friends. She still trusted them, still believed that somehow this nightmare would end and they would all be friends again. Jennifer Daugherty's capacity for forgiveness and hope would survive longer than her captor's capacity for mercy. By the end of day 2, Angela Marinucci had made a decision. Jennifer had to die, and she was going to make sure it happened. February 11th, 2010. Day 3. Jennifer Daugherty had endured 72 hours of torture, but she was still alive, still clinging to hope that somehow this nightmare would end. Angela Marinucci had other plans. That morning, Angela confronted Ricky Smyrnes with an ultimatum that would determine Jennifer's fate. Choose between her and me. It wasn't really a choice. Angela had already decided. Jennifer had to die. Ricky called another one of their sick family meetings. 6 people gathered around Jennifer, who was bound with Christmas lights, barely conscious, her face still painted with nail polish like a broken doll. "Should we kill Jennifer?" Ricky asked. One by one, they voted. Melvin Knight, yes. Amber Meidinger, yes. Angela Marinucci, yes. Peggy Miller, yes. Robert Masters, yes. Ricky Smyrnes, yes. 6 votes for murder, 0 votes for mercy. Then they forced Jennifer to write her own suicide note. With shaking hands, she wrote words that would later break her family's hearts. "I haven't been happy for a long time. I love my mom and stepdad no matter what. I will always love the rest of my family too. My niece and nephew will be lucky to have a better aunt than me." Even facing death, Jennifer was thinking of others. Apologizing for being a burden, still loving the family she would never see again. Angela read the note and smiled. Then she looked down at Jennifer and said 4 words that would haunt investigators forever. "Just kill that bitch." They dragged Jennifer into the bathroom one final time. Ricky Smyrnes handed a steak knife to Melvin Knight and said, "You know what to do." Melvin hesitated for just a moment. Then he plunged the knife into Jennifer's chest, her neck, her torso, multiple wounds designed to cause maximum pain. But Jennifer didn't die quickly. She fought for life, gasping, bleeding, still bound with those Christmas lights. So Ricky Smyrnes finished what Melvin started. He slit Jennifer's wrists. Then he wrapped the Christmas lights around her throat and strangled her until she stopped breathing. Jennifer Daugherty died after 4 to 6 minutes of agony, alone in a filthy bathroom, killed by people she had trusted. They wrapped her body in plastic bags and stuffed it into a garbage can like she was trash. Then they drove to the Greensburg Salem Middle School parking lot and dumped her under Daniel Grant's truck. A snowstorm that night covered their tracks. They thought they had committed the perfect crime. They were wrong. The next morning, Daniel Grant would make his horrific discovery, and the investigation into Jennifer Daugherty's murder would expose 6 monsters who had destroyed an innocent woman for sport. Justice was coming. But for Jennifer, it was already too late. February 11th, 2010. The same day Jennifer's body was discovered, when Jennifer's family realized she was missing, they immediately contacted police. They knew she had planned to stay at Peggy's house on Pennsylvania Avenue in Greensburg. It didn't take investigators long to trace that address to Ricky Smyrnes' apartment. By evening, police had surrounded 428 North Pennsylvania Avenue. That night, 6 arrests were announced. The Greensburg Six were in custody. What happened next shocked even veteran detectives. The confessions began immediately. But instead of showing remorse, each suspect pointed fingers at the others. Angela Marinucci was the most chilling. In jail, she bragged to other inmates about what she had done. "I fed feces to retards," she told one cellmate, using a slur that revealed her complete lack of humanity. She told another inmate she was excited to be on the news. She actually jumped on her bed with glee when the story broke. But the most telling confession came when Angela admitted her real motive. "I wanted Jennifer dead because she stole my boyfriend." A mentally disabled woman had been tortured and murdered over teenage jealousy. The trials would span 12 years, from 2010 to 2022. 12 years of legal proceedings, appeals, and resentencing. Angela Marinucci, the youngest at 17, couldn't receive the death penalty, but she was sentenced to life without parole, twice. Both sentences were overturned because she was a juvenile. In 2022, she finally received her 3rd sentence, 60 years to life. She'll be eligible for parole at age 78. Ricky Smyrnes and Melvin Knight weren't so lucky. Both received death sentences and remain on Pennsylvania's death row. Amber Meidinger, who became a key witness against the others, was sentenced to 40 to 80 years. Peggy Miller received 35 to 74 years. Robert Masters got 30 to 70 years. But perhaps the most powerful testimony came from Dr. Cyril Wecht, the renowned forensic pathologist who had conducted thousands of autopsies. Dr. Wecht had seen every form of human cruelty imaginable. He had examined victims of serial killers, mass murderers, terrorists. Yet when he testified about Jennifer Daugherty's case, his words sent chills through the courtroom. "This is one of the most horrific cases I have seen. You have one young, defenseless woman, 6 people who are keeping her captive and doing all of these things, knowing she is mentally challenged. Put it all together, it is bizarre. It is extreme barbarism." Judge Rita Hathaway, who presided over multiple trials, made a stunning admission during Angela's final sentencing in 2022. "This case has given me nightmares and has affected me like no other in my more than 2 decades on the bench." A judge with 20 years of experience, who had seen every form of human depravity, was haunted by what 6 people did to Jennifer Daugherty. Justice had been served, but the scars from this case would never fully heal. But Jennifer Daugherty's story doesn't end in that garbage can. In 2012, Pennsylvania State Senator Kim Ward proposed legislation that would forever change how we respond to violent crime. She called it Jennifer's Law. The law makes it a 3rd-degree misdemeanor to witness a violent crime and fail to report it to authorities if you can do so without endangering yourself. It was designed to prevent what happened to Jennifer. 6 people participating in torture, while no one called for help. Jennifer's law passed in 2012. Jennifer's death had saved future lives. Her sister Joy Burkholder spoke at the sentencing hearings, describing the Jennifer that her killers never bothered to know. She loved life, wanted to be part of everything. She trusted everybody, believed everyone was good. That trust, that beautiful, childlike faith in humanity, was what made Jennifer so vulnerable. But it was also what made her special. Today, the Greensburg Six are scattered across Pennsylvania's prison system, serving sentences that will keep most of them locked away for decades. Angela Marinucci won't be eligible for parole until 2070. Ricky Smyrnes and Melvin Knight remain on death row. Jennifer Daugherty is no longer just a victim. She's a catalyst for change. Her death exposed society's failure to protect our most vulnerable citizens. Her final note to her mother, "I love you very much," remains a testament that love can survive even the darkest evil. In Jennifer's memory, we must do better. We must protect those who cannot protect themselves, because evil often wears a familiar face. And sometimes the people who say they're your friends are the ones you should fear most. If you enjoyed this content, join our community by subscribing and turning on notifications. Every subscriber makes it possible for us to keep creating content we're passionate about sharing with you.